Hello and welcome to another episode of Forkful of Noodles. I am Krish Mohan. It should be no surprise to anyone that most of my material comes from a place of anger, a pool of hot rage over various injustices, inequalities, and constant requests to do the Indian accent. But fortunately, most of this anger is fueled into comedy. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't have anger issues. I very much do. And I know there's some of you out there that are very shocked to hear that I have anger issues, right? Some of you are going, well, how can someone this adorable be that angry? But if you talk to 2 laptops, 2 phones, and all of my ex-girlfriends, they will tell a different story. One of foaming mouths, unnecessary amounts of cursing, and uncalled comparisons to mothers causing both parties to emotional distress and fatigue. But at least once a day, I am just screaming at my phone like it can hear me, right? You gotta tell me when the left is coming, not when it's already here. I will destroy you and your family. And even the NSA agent spying on me thinks that's a little bit too much. Look at him. Just yelling. For a full 25 minutes he's been yelling. At nothing. You know what? Get him on a list. It doesn't matter which list, Jeff. Just any list. They all do the same thing. They all perpetuate this sense of security using patriotism as a scapegoat. And call his mother. He has not called his mother in a very long time. Now, it's taken a lot of work to maintain my anger and use it as a fuel. And we as a society are very angry right now, right? We've hit a point where we are driven by extreme emotions, and we are letting our emotions control what we do. And this anger has led to a lot more outrage and given way to a much bigger troll culture. And trolls are just here to make living under bridges way more difficult and poking and prodding at our emotions. And sometimes they're here to poke and prod at our emotions about bridges until we just say, fuck it, burn it all down. And then we all lose, okay? Because there aren't enough bridges in the world for us to burn because we can't rebuild them. Our infrastructure budget is astronomically low, and which is also something we are very mad about. Recently, our emotions were hijacked by trolls with the "It's okay to be white" poster campaign. Okay, yeah, I get it. Calling it a poster campaign might be a little over the top, right? It's more of like a printout campaign. Like the trolls that decided to execute this just told people to go to Kinko's and print it out on some 8.5 by 11s, proving that even the trolls are on a budget. Capitalism is screwing over even trolls. But a lot of people are outraged at these printouts posted up all over college campuses across the country. And the issue is who's co-opted these printouts, right? It's supremacists and nationalists who are running with this to poke and prod at the left's and call them out on their hypocrisies on diversity. And it worked, right? The left got angry and the trolls were left laughing. Look, the fact remains that you can't call something diverse and inclusive while simultaneously rejecting another group of people for the color of their skin. And the fact remains that it is okay to be white, just like it is okay to be black or brown or caramel or purple. Skin color doesn't give you self-worth, though the purple skin probably means that area needs to be oxygenated a bit more. But a system built around exclusion and divide to protect the wealth of the rich would have you believe that the purple skins are coming for your jobs and your children. But it's hard to see nuances and evaluate these things when our emotions lead the charge in what we say and the decisions that we make. But we're never really taught how to work with our emotions. And when we are at our most emotional, that's when we have to make some of the most important decisions of our lives. High school at age 14 or 15, hermetically sealing emotions into a vacuum and hoping for the best. right? And then college at 18, when you're just kind of sort of figuring yourself out and some of your emotions, right? Just as like you're sorting through the sense of self that you've gotten and the emotions that come along with it and what your role in society could be. Bam, that's when they're like, you got to pick what you want to do for like the rest of your life. And are you willing to be in eternal debt for it? I mean, that should piss all of us off. The education system doesn't really help you figure out how to deal with the extreme poles of your emotions. And that should be the point of education. It should be more about taking in information, processing it, and coming up with a viable conclusion that means something to you, right? I mean, it should be about critical thinking and reactivity, not about test taking and competition to get better grants. But it's not really what this education system is about. This education system is about promoting and securing nationalism so we don't learn the real history of this country or the world, right? It's a lot easier to just say it's all good. I mean, America's been all great the whole time. I mean, nothing to see here. Go about your business. Go home. Watch some Netflix and chill the fuck out. So later in life, where we learn about racial injustices and segregation that have been put into place in our society, or about the secret wars and coups that we've been involved in, or how our heroes have let us down, or the fact that an ideology that we were told was eradicated and killed is still alive and kicking, the only thing we can do is react with extreme emotions. And mix those extreme emotions with the opposite belief system, and shit, that is basically homemade napalm. And that's something they won't teach you in science class or the anarchist cookbook. Maybe we wouldn't be outraged by all of this sexual misconduct in today's society if we just had decent sexual education as teenagers. Abstinence-only education has made people feel bad about their boners, estrogen, and wanting to wrap leather around their genitals for like ever now, okay? And that has just led to much larger problems like secret fetishes and the inability to understand the word no. Sex ed is only focused on diseases and not the idea of love and a healthy relationship. I mean, when you watch the video, they only talk about boobs and dicks and the horrible things that can happen when they touch. You know, and then you learn how to put a condom on a banana, which is just ruining produce for an entire generation. I mean, and this fear creates guilt and unstable lovers. It teaches you how to prevent VD, but not psych issues. So you can avoid gonorrhea, but you can't prevent the exposure from a bipolar chick with daddy issues. Sex ed should be about understanding that boners are okay. Ladies like sex too. Consent is important, and condoms have defeated biology and God. And if you're not into condoms, here's 6 effective methods to pull out. It's like the headline of a Cosmo article. In fact, I think we should have Cosmo writers teach sexual education to teenagers and adults that have been sexually repressed by parents, teachers, and the Lord, which makes the Lord kind of a pervert, doesn't it? I mean, watching us do the dirty and then judging us as they get their jollies off. Ugh. High school should also have a therapy class where we can go in and talk about our feelings and learn what they are and what we can do with them. I mean, if we had a space where we could learn to adapt to our emotions, bitch about our parents, and talk about that rage that's boiling inside of us like a tea kettle, we'd probably be better equipped to handle learning about the human rights violations we call our history. But because our education system has failed our emotions, we get led astray by our so-called leaders who turn us into puppets. We miss the point of major issues because we get roped into these hyper-emotional arguments, and rather than one that involves thinking and rationality and deciding with logic. And our emotions are volatile because we don't have control over them. And our politicians have used that against us to keep us bickering amongst ourselves, so we don't have to come up with solutions, but rather new ways to troll each other. I wouldn't be surprised to find out that troll culture is just a new part of the deep state, like the CIA or the NSA, or the idea of patriotism. And then we find out that the troll was really responsible for the JFK assassination and the moon landing. Or even if they were responsible for things like Watergate, telling Nixon that they were probably saying some shit about his mom. And because of this emotional hijacking, a lot of our major issues are just not talked about. And these emotions are prodded even more with the aid of mainstream media, who throws headlines like Molotov cocktails into the herd of the oppressed. And even the local news plays with our emotions with sound bites like, "Is your water turning your child gay? Find out at 11. Short answer, no. Conspiracy answer, yes, and watch this 3-hour film I made and why the nightly news won't let you see it. Hell, I've even used this tactic, right, with shocking titles like "Shocking! Democrats still do nothing about anything and expect everything." And yeah, sometimes it works, but it just leads to missing the point and only arguing about who's right when we're all probably wrong. If we can learn how to use our emotions as a fuel to logic, issues like Black Lives Matter would be really about police brutality and reforming the structure and training officers of the law. It would be about reminding them that they are part of the law they are supposed to protect and not above the law, because life is not a Steven Seagal movie, and that's okay and probably for the best, because have you seen Steven Seagal lately? See, I don't think he's not doing great. He's not a model example of like peak physical health and humanity. And printouts like "It's okay to be white" would more be about accepting and educating white people about a changing world and why that world is changing and how they can adapt to it. And it wouldn't be about nationalism or supremacy or pushing trollism forward. We'd be able to accept our own hypocrisies and adjust to them rather than, calling each other out and to say that we're all wrong and offering zero redemption. Society is emotionally stunted. And if we can better educate ourselves about just ourselves, we'd be able to learn about each other, and disagreements wouldn't leave us screaming and crying over those disagreements, right? And we can use our emotions as a fuel to fight back against a system that is pitting us against each other to protect the riches of rich people, and we can work together to come up with real solutions instead of just political standoffs. And we might just burn a few less bridges along the way. That's been your forkful of noodles for this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button below, and please share this video amongst your friends or your enemies or whoever you think might enjoy this. I do have live stand-up comedy dates coming up. I'm going to be on tour with List Victory with our transcontinental variety show. We are coming to Norfolk, Virginia, Chapel Hill, North Carolina, Savannah, Georgia, Athens, Georgia, and Asheville, North Carolina. I will also be performing my brand new hour of comedy in Columbia, South Carolina, Wilmington, North Carolina, and Augusta, Georgia. So if you're in those cities, please come out and hang out. And if you want to see my entire tour schedule for the rest of this year and into 2018, visit ramennoodlescomedy.com. That's RAMAN noodlescomedy.com. You can You can also get all of my stand-up comedy albums while you're there as well. You can download them via iTunes or Bandcamp at ramennoodlescomedy.bandcamp.com. That's RAMAN noodlescomedy.bandcamp.com. And I'm updating my Patreon. There will be some new prizes, some new updates as to what the Patreon is for, and what we are planning on doing with it. But if you'd like to go and support before we push the new updates, you can go to patreon.com/Krish Mohan. And this show is always going to be free, and all of the stuff content that I put out will always be free. So the Patreon and subscribing to the Bandcamp is just an extra way to say that you like what I do and you want to support it financially. But if you can't support it financially, that's okay too. Just click the like button and share amongst your friends and your enemies, and keep tuning in. That's the best way to keep supporting the show. Thank you so much for getting into it.